back to Cardelo Smith's filing. His notice says that Jennifer Lynn Lopez, aka J-Lo, aka Jenny from the Block, quote, will be called as a material witness and expert to Sean Combs' viewing, possession, and distribution of a sexual upon the plaintiff in 1997, and the orders of defendant Sean Combs forcing Jennifer Lopez to remain silent about the videotaped sexual plaintiff.
Diddy has allegedly been involved in a fight while in prison, and legal experts say that Jay-Z is trying to silence Diddy after the new lawsuit against him. Reports are coming in that Diddy was found crying in his cell following the altercation, and is worried someone might try to poison him.
According to a report from the Daily Mail, that's why Diddy had a breakdown. A person close to him apparently said, quote, spending the holidays behind bars was a nightmare for him. If we're to believe all this, Diddy had a meltdown in his cell and begged the guards to take him to the hospital for observation, but they refused. This same friend or person told the Daily Mail, quote, he eventually managed to calm himself down with the meditation technique he's been using while he's been behind bars. It took him a few hours of deep breathing and focusing to get out of the bad space he was in, but he finally managed it. This isn't the first time Diddy's mental health has come into question while he's been at MDC. When he first arrived, he was on suicide watch, which the U.S. Department of Justice National Institute of Corrections describes as supervisory precautions taken for inmates that require frequent observation. Diddy's watch was only temporary, though. He was housed in a special protective unit of the jail after that for the first few weeks of his stay. But Diddy right now is in Gen Pop, meaning general population, the place where majority of the inmates stay. And that's where he apparently had this meltdown over the holidays, at least.
At this point, Diddy's lawyers are trying to convince him to take a plea deal. The amount of evidence that has been collected against him is just impossible to walk away from. Plus, Diddy has already confessed to doing illegal things at his parties. More than 50 witnesses, along with hundreds of hours of footage collected from Diddy's Miami mansion, have been presented as evidence. Criminal defense attorneys say that Diddy's only option at this point is to confess.
So breaking news right now, Larry, I am just getting word. People magazine says it's got a source on the inside that tells them that P. Diddy's on watch tonight. Do your sources confer the same information? Are they saying it was possible?
Hey, real quickly, all that commissary stuff, he's not getting any of that because people in the shoe have an abbreviated list. So he's out of luck. No stake for him. Yeah, he is on watch. This guy thought he would have went home. All of a sudden, he didn't get bond. Remember, the first night that he was there, he was like an overnight guest. When they told his bond hearing, now they checked him into the system, and reality has hit him. And I understand that he has a shrink coming by his cell to see him several times a day. And now there's talk about putting him in, it's like a bubble. It's like a cell that has like a plexiglass wall in it where they have inmates watching you. That's actually their job, to keep an eye on the inmates that are on watch. Another error that I guess some warden told you this. There are sentenced inmates there. They're called cadre inmates. They don't have to be white collar inmates, but they're doing maintenance on the building. And the problem why there's a lot of violence there, they have housing units. And they're mixing bank robbers, drug dealers, rapists with white collar people. And this is why Diddy, he can't go into a regular housing unit because somebody will take him out for sure. Somebody's gonna get a lot of street credibility out of this. People that are doing substantial time that know they're never getting out, they'll just kill the guy. No questions asked.
You think that they'd suck up to him because he's got a lot of money, and if he ever does get the commissary options, he would be able to help them.
Some people do because
I got to wrap it real quick.
Okay, some people do think that Diddy can help them, but this guy's going to be locked up forever. His case will probably take at least 3 years to litigate. He'll stay at MDC. There's rumors that he wants to go to Essex County Jail in New Jersey because he doesn't like MDC. He's a Marshals inmate. There's no way they're going to transfer him back and forth, I don't know, several times a week, 6 Marshals to do it.
Jersey.
He's out of luck.
Listen, I'm going to have you back. I'm going to have you back. I have so many more questions for you, but we've had a lot of breaking news in this show. So Larry Levine, thanks for that. I appreciate it.
Sources close to Diddy think that Diddy might actually harm himself. Diddy isn't a hardened criminal, and he knows what happens to child molesters in prison. Diddy's business empire has been destroyed, and none of his industry connection are coming. To save him, we've already seen that Diddy's own family has stopped coming to see him, and Diddy was looking super thin at his most recent bail hearing. The reality is that prison is starting to take its toll on Diddy, and his recent breakdown is a sign that Diddy is at his breaking point.
Going back to Cardella Smith's filing, his notice says that Jennifer Lynn Lopez, aka J-Lo, aka Jenny from the Block, quote, will be called as a material witness and expert to Sean Combs' viewing, possession, and distribution of his sexual assault upon the plaintiff in 1997, and the orders of defendant Sean Combs forcing Jennifer Lopez to remain silent about the videotaped sexual assault plaintiff by defendant. Plaintiff states that the material witness Jennifer Lynn Lopez, also known as J-Lo and Jenny from the Block, was engaged in a relationship with the defendant Sean Combs during 1999 and 2001, and that the sexual assault plaintiff was recorded, distributed, and held by the defendant at his New York residence and recording studio. And during the relationship with Jennifer Lopez, she was made privy to this video that was taken by Sean Combs and his employee Kirk Burrows. She, J-Lo, has known this video existed and was in existence and took no action to make it known to anyone in law enforcement, and that she was even questioned by New York Police Detective Derek Palmer about this matter, and that the report will show that her answers to this tape was and still remains a resounding yes to its existence. And again, Cardella Smith writes that he wants to call Officer Derek Palmer as a witness because he says Palmer is the one who questioned Lopez and believes that he will have testimony that could help his case. Now, as I mentioned, Diddy's legal team has called for this entire case to be thrown out. Cardella Smith has filed a massive response to that request that totaled more than 200 pages. Probably half of it was just straight up copies of case law that seems to support his arguments, word for word. It's something out of like a legal textbook. There's so much to slog through, but I kind of want to give you some of the highlights. So first, in addition to the claims of rape and a cover-up, Cardella Smith also claims and alleges that Combs was violent towards his loved ones. At times, Cardella Smith addresses alleged threats against his family. Other times, he says Combs actually caused serious injuries to his brother. His response reads, defendant used threats of murder to force the plaintiff to not bring the case to any court of law enforcement until the homes of the defendant were raided by Homeland Security, that the plaintiff knew it was a safe time to bring the case, and that is why we are here at this juncture. And Cardella Smith argued that fear for his own safety and the safety of his family is one of the main reasons that he waited so long to report the alleged, and says that that reason alone should override any issue with the statute of limitations, that these claims might otherwise be time barred. And he also argues that while he's been in prison, fellow inmates and prison guards have threatened him on behalf of Sean Combs.
The cases against Diddy and his co-conspirators are piling up. Jay-Z and J-Lo are just the first celebrities to get dragged into Diddy's case. And according to former federal prosecutors, it's more than likely that other celebrities will get named, too. And if Diddy confesses, there are a lot of people who could end up behind bars. Diddy's ex-party planner, TAA Wallace, has also come forward and said that she witnessed Diddy and the guests at his party minors.
You know, for years, P. Diddy's gotten a whole pass. He's actually created his own kingdom where he makes his own rules, and you got to follow his rules or you get penalized. And guess what, Laura? He's now in a federal penitentiary, and for the first time in his life, he's facing his own fate at the hands of somebody else. And I will tell you, Laura, I've done federal cases, that's not the place you want to be in federal court. 90% of federal criminal indictments brought down are pled out, right? A plea deal is brought. And of the only 10% left, 90% of those defendants that go to trial, they lose. So he is looking at a daunting uphill battle to fight these horrible charges.
Now, Brian, one of the DHS agents involved in this raid on his Miami mansion described what he saw inside the house, saying that, in my opinion, he's as bad as Epstein. These women are young, either barely legal or barely illegal. Brian, this sounds like he was a monster.
Yeah, Laura, I will tell you that this indictment was very detailed, by the way, too. Your viewers should know there were over 300 subpoenas served. over 50 witnesses interviewed. Why is that important? Because the federal prosecutors aren't going to be leveling an indictment like this unless they have ammunition and they have cause to bring it. And the core issue at this case, which the feds have to prove, which it's looking like they can, is that P. Diddy essentially controlled these women, that he threatened them with stopping the money that he was paying them, that he spiked their drinks with, that's been alleged in the indictment, and that he basically told them, I'm going to ruin your life unless you engage in these freak-offs. And that's really what the prosecutors got to prove. And if you've got some victims coming forward to talk about that, you've got financial records that prove that, travel itinerary that proves that, P. Diddy has very little defense. And I got to tell you, Laura, if this guy wants to fight these charges, he's going to have to step up and walk into a courtroom and talk about it. If he doesn't testify in this case, he is dead on arrival.
Well, who else is on these tapes? I mean, will the tapes ever see the light of day? I mean, that's what everybody's talking about. Who else is there? It's like with the Epstein, his pleasure island. Who else? Who went? Who was there? What's the manifest? But Brian, chances 1 being least likely, 10 being most likely. Will we learn of other celebrities that were at these freak-offs?
Yeah, I think you've got an 8 or a 9 for a likelihood you're going to hear about it. Why? Because there are going to be more indictments coming down, Laura. That's an important point here, because he's being charged with racketeering and conspiracy. You're going to have, well, let's start on the inner circle. You're going to have former bodyguards. You can possibly have former musicians that he was with. You've got personal assistants that are going to be, they're already talking about this. Some of those are likely to be charged. And then guess what? If you've got some music moguls that are sending women over to these alleged freak-offs, then you've got some top people that are going to start crumbling too, because they're all part of what's called this criminal enterprise.
Gene Deal, the closest source to Diddy, has said that Diddy won't be getting out of jail anytime soon. Diddy recorded compromising footage of everyone at his parties, and that footage is now in FBI custody. If Diddy decides to snitch, a whole lot of business empires are going to implode. Diddy's world is crumbling, and the walls are closing in fast with allegations piling up, powerful enemies surfacing, and his health visibly deteriorating. The question isn't just if Diddy will take a deal, but how many lives he'll take down with.
It was interesting too, because this time around, Diddy was brought in first. He was brought in about a couple minutes after 2 p.m. today. And we were all kind of waiting to see. We had heard mumblings that his mom might be in courtroom, that we were waiting for the children, but then nothing happened. But then in another twist and turn, the children do walk in, but this time it was a lot smaller bunch than it was the last time. So last time you're having all of Diddy's children, except with the exception of Love, who is just a 2-year-old child. So she wasn't at court, but you had all of Diddy's children there except Love. But this time around, you just had Justin Combs and Christian Combs, meaning that there was no Quincy there today. Delilah and Jesse weren't there. Chance wasn't there. And the caretakers of his younger children who aren't of age just yet, they were not present inside the courtroom as well today. But his mom also wasn't in court today. So when Diddy came inside, it was still that standard issued MDC jumpsuit. He's wearing khaki. From that video of, I think that was obtained by Daily Mail back in September, of Diddy playing hacky sack in Central Park, to now he appeared just astonishingly thinner, which you can expect to be inside a federal detention center for a couple months now. A lot different from the luxury lifestyle that he was living before, but he appeared very noticeably thinner, and maybe being locked up in detention is starting to wear on him. He appeared grayer a little bit as well too, but again, he appeared just like how you would expect Diddy to appear for a hearing.
Yeah, that makes sense. But knowing Diddy personally, do you think it's possible he might take his life?
It takes a certain individual to prepare himself to do a lot of years in jail. From the lifestyle that he had, I'm not saying that he can't. I just don't see him able to do time behind bars. Maybe if he'd be in a camp type situation, that's a possibility. But based on the lifestyle and what he's done and what he's accomplished, if he had to go behind those bars for a lot of years, I think that he may commit. He do an Epstein.
Him if he does. What do you think? Will Diddy cooperate with the feds, or will he try to weather the storm? Let me know in the comments below. Diddy is reportedly back in protective custody after the attempted, and he's trying to avoid prison food because he thinks there are people out to get him. It's important to remember that this is the same detention center where Jeffrey Epstein alleged.
So that's that. Now, as far as Jay-Z is concerned, this can really go one of two ways. This might be an isolated one-off case that he has to defend, or potentially it could be a Me Too type situation where other victims come forward. Obviously, we saw that with Diddy and Cassie Ventura. So the coming days and weeks are really going to be telling. And Tony Busby says he has more than 100, maybe up to 300 victims he's representing. So it's going to be interesting to see if any of them also name Jay-Z.
And Nima, if such a high-profile name like Jay-Z has come out, could more celebrity names be tied to these lawsuits? What do you think we can expect?
No question. This may just be the first celebrity domino, and Jay-Z was unmasked as celebrity A, but let's not forget there's a celebrity B in that same lawsuit that allegedly witnessed the sexual the female celebrity. And there was someone who went on CNN earlier this week and said that his sexual was witnessed by another celebrity as well. So I think we're going to see more celebrity names identified very soon.
All right, Nima Rani, thank you so much for joining us. As you said, this is one that has entered the court of public opinion. It's nice to have your actual legal advice on this one.
Committed suicide, so who knows what could happen. Diddy is scared of what might happen to him in prison, and that's why he's been trying to get bail for almost 6 months now. People don't last long in prison, and that's why he can't be sent out into Gen Pop. The case against Diddy keeps getting worse and worse. Jennifer Lopez has now also been named as a material witness against Shawcoms and will be called to testify against what she saw. J-Lo is a billionaire, and if she gets involved with Diddy at this time, she could go down with him. She wants this any way possible, and reportedly everyone who Diddy secretly recorded is now out to get him. If Diddy decides to cooperate with the feds, some of the biggest and most powerful people in this country will go down. The case against Diddy keeps getting worse and worse. Jennifer Lopez has now also been named as a material witness against Shawcoms and will be called to testify against what she saw. J-Lo is a billionaire, and if she gets involved with Diddy at this time, she could go down with him. She wants this any way possible, and reportedly everyone who Diddy secretly recorded is now out to get him. If Diddy decides to cooperate with the feds, some of the biggest and most powerful people in this country will go down.
So why did you believe in these cases, and why didn't you believe in others that you were presented with?
Well, the thing with a sexual abuser is they follow a pattern. They fall to type, and you become very clear on what that pattern is, particularly a serial sexual abuse. And these cases were all identical in the facts, identical in the story. It was beginning, middle, conclusion.
They know each other?
Boom. None of them knew each other.
Did you have them meet?
No.
Did you have them coordinate stories?
No, no.
Do you think they had any contact with each other before they came to you?
Absolutely not.
And when you were talking to them, well, first, the ones that you didn't take, why not?
Stories didn't make sense. Stories didn't fit the pattern. Stories were not credible. I mean, this is my 30th year as a lawyer. I've tried over 100 cases. I can assess whether somebody's story is credible. And if I don't believe it, I'm not going to put my name on a pleading, sign it, and file it in court. I'm not doing that. And that's what I did with the 60 plus cases that I rejected.
And this is not really your area of expertise. If people look you up, celebrity lawsuits is not really where you make your bones. Why this?
Well, I was involved in the Weinstein litigation. Right. I was involved in the Paducah litigation. I was involved in the Hayden litigation. Why did I do this? I do this because it's important. I think it's important for people to be heard, have their chance to get the power back. Because sexual abuse is about one thing, taking power, humiliating, demeaning a person and a victim. It has nothing to do with sex. And so I think it's important. I think it's important to get the word out. I think it's important for men to feel, hey, look, I can come out and be heard just like a woman could.
And the defense that, look, they knew what they were getting into. These are regrets. They went there, they partied, and now they see a pocket.
No, I don't think so. My client
was... Were they gay men?
One was bisexual, the other ones were not. And they were going there The client was bisexual, worked for Diddy. Diddy owed him money for doing errands for him and being his step and fetch, for lack of a better word. And I think it was a power move. It was a clear power move because this guy had the nerve to come to him and say, you owe me money. And so Diddy said, come on to the Intercontinental Hotel. He gives him the drink, knocks him out, sodomizes him. And I won't use the term that my client used, but he said he tried to turn me into his B word. And I think it was a clear power move on each and every occasion. I think the ones that took place in the Park Hyatt, that wasn't partying. My client met him at a nightclub in the city here with a music producer. He didn't think he was getting into that. The man who was in the Hamptons, he thought he was going to a white party. Who wouldn't want to go to a white party? I would have gone to a white party back in the day. I wouldn't go now, but they went there innocently, and this is what happened to them.
I never went. I appreciate you very much. We will follow the cases through the duration.
All right, nice to see you,
As
Chris.
things come out, you'll be welcome counsel to make the case as it's countered.
Jay-Z is worth more than $1 billion, and his business empire involves Beyoncé too. Allegedly, Beyoncé knew what Jay-Z and Diddy were doing together, and she was reportedly the person seen next to Jay-Z at Diddy's freak-off party. Jay-Z's lawyers are now saying that the case is too old to prosecute and it should be thrown away. However, Judge Annalisa Torres has ruled that the case will move forward.
It was incredibly painful, and he was acting like it was nothing.
Yes, he sat in the dark, but he brought into the light some very disturbing allegations against Diddy.
I was screaming. I was telling him to stop.
More than 24 accusers have filed suit against the still imprisoned rap mogul. But this man is the very first to do an on-camera interview, telling his chilling story to CNN's Elizabeth Wagmeister.
It was abuse beyond belief.
The man, identified only as John Doe, says he was hired by a security firm to work at one of Sean Combs' famous white parties in the Hamptons.
Hey, yo, what's up, yo? It's your boy Diddy.
At first, he was incredibly friendly, very gracious.
But the accuser's lawsuit, obtained by Extra, claims that Combs targeted him, providing him with drinks throughout the night.
This didn't come from staff or someone holding a tray of drinks. It came from him directly.
Correct. The first drink started to have some effect on me, and I just thought, wow, these are really strong drinks. It wasn't until the second drink, and it was already too late, that I realized that there was something wrong with the drinks.
In the suit filed in October, the man claimed Diddy pushed him into a van, held him down, and sexually assaulted him. He says he could not escape because he had been
Sean Combs was waiting in the wings. He was watching from some sort of vantage point, and once I was in a helpless position and he was sure that he was in a position of power, then he took advantage of the situation.
The brand new interview is the latest scoop for Elizabeth, who was the first with the video of Diddy's hotel then-girlfriend Cassie Ventura.
Combs can be seen grabbing Ventura and throwing her to the ground.
That video and Cassie's suit, which Diddy settled quickly.
I was at I believe to be one of P. Diddy's freak-offs.
Now, singer-songwriter Tania Wallace told TMZ's Harvey Levin for the Tubi special, The Downfall of Diddy, Inside the Freak-Offs, she believes she witnessed underage victims at one of Diddy's 2018 parties.
I'm looking like, are those midgets? Because people were it's people over them, like it's people trying to hide what they're doing.
Adults who are little people, or are you talking about minors?
Am I gonna get in trouble? I don't want to say I witnessed any of that crazy stuff, but we all have common sense. Little people. It's not supposed to be there.
You're talking about underage people.
It's a shame.
Is this woman, Tania, is she really saying that there were minors involved in these freak-offs?
That is exactly what she's saying, Billy. Now, as for what they were doing, she never really could get a clean look at it. She said there was a wall of adults encircling them who clearly didn't want everyone at the party to see what was happening there. She said when she saw this scene with the younger people, that it was about 7 a.m. and that the party had been going all night.
Did anyone ask her why didn't she leave, and what was she doing?
She was there as the guest of a Saudi prince. As to why she didn't leave, I don't know what time she left. I agree with you that once you see something like she's describing, that's the time to tip out the door.
Or call the FBI. I mean,
or call the FBI, exactly. But you know, that's the other thing that we've heard from a lot of people who've been involved in parties with Diddy, that there are NDAs that are signed, and you walk out and you feel like, I can't say anything to anyone.
today, Diddy's lawyer calls Tania's claims completely and categorically false. In brand new court documents, he insists the government has been leaking information suggesting falsely that he engaged in wrongdoing with underage victims, insisting there are none.
I love y'all so much.
We love you too.
And just a week after we heard his voice from jail for the first time on the phone with his kid,
I'm happy. Thanks to y'all giving me this call. Thank you very much. I love y'all.
Recently, another case was filed against Diddy alleging that Diddy III in the early 2000s aftering them. This case follows the exact same MO that we've seen before, and it shows that for Diddy, these assaults were less about sexual attraction and more about power. He wanted to dominate others and make them feel like he was in control.
Why haven't anybody came out defending Diddy? All these celebrity friends he have, and nobody came out.
They brand. It's all about the money. They saw what he did to Cassie. With the kicking, the punching. They saw what they did to Cassie. They know that nobody in America liked that. So now, these people are represented by a brand. Whether it's some about the music, clothing, movies. They're not gonna come out and speak on nothing that has anything to do with them, and they praying that they not on the tape doing crazy stuff, being oiled up in the whole 9 yards. They praying. So until the feds say, hey, yo, listen here. We got you on, hey buddy, we got you on this tape, and girl looked like she was pretty young. We're not gonna show it, but we need you to come and testify against Brother Love, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, you know, Sean Combs. That's when they're gonna start talking. And they're not gonna be talking in his favor. When the feds come to them and show them what they got on tape, because if he had 250 tapes all over, 250 cameras all over the house, somebody got caught stealing a cookie out the cookie jar. It could be your favorite pastor. It could be your favorite politician. But they didn't think they was being watched, and Brother Love was watching.
Yeah, I mean, TD Jakes, he haven't even came out and said anything. And him and Diddy was real cool.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, man. And I know the people in the congregation over there is shaking in their boots because this man didn't led them probably, allegedly probably led them to damnation, because those people's hearts are gonna be broken if that man is seen on those tapes doing anything. Because people always put their faith in the pastor instead of putting their faith in God. And what they need to do is understand that he's just a man. And he has a history. It's not looking too good for him.
So you feel like celebs are worried that they might be on tape?
Oh, they know. That's why they ain't speaking up or saying nothing. Yeah, I was at a Diddy party, but I know I ain't do nothing. When you don't know somebody's taping you, when you don't know that somebody is videoing you in some kind of form or fashion, you got that alcohol, you got the drugs in you, they're a little loose, bruh. They let down all their inhibitions. The music is pumping. He said it himself. He got it so hot in there that you gotta take your clothes off. He said that himself, bro.
One of Diddy's alleged victims has even gone on camera and given a record of what happened and explained how Diddy's freak-off parties worked. His testimony proves that Diddy wasn't working alone. The celebrities around Diddy saw what was happening, but they chose to stay quiet. Oftentimes, Diddy would even ask his guards to rape victims while he would just sit and watch.